Welcome back to the Traders Network. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Thanks for joining us. We're also streaming to you live on yorbamedia.com and broadcasting to you from the Dallas KFXR 1190 AM Clear Tunnel Studios. All right, I am joined a second time on our show with Chairman and CEO Robert, or as I like to call him, Bob Lorsch. MMRF is the symbol. Ladies and gentlemen, this company does some amazing stuff. But Bob, welcome back to the show. How have you been?
I've been good. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so happy that you came back on the show. Tell us, let's back up. We've got a lot of new listeners since you've been on the show. Give our audience just a brief overview of you, MMRGlobal, and then we'll get right into the new things that you're doing.
Well, MMR is kind of a company that truly meets the adage of being in the right place at the right time. We started about 10 years ago in the personal health record business when then President George Bush decided that we were going to form a government agency that was going to be focused on bringing health information technology to the masses, the Office of the National Coordinator, and appointed the first national coordinator. And since then, there's been tens, if not hundreds of billions spent on a global basis bringing health information technology to masses. Shortly after that period of time, MMR saw an opportunity to provide personal health record products and services because everybody was focused on doctors and hospitals and the masses being the healthcare professional, but nobody was focused on the patient. And so we went out and built a patient-centric product and service designed to allow patients to have all their medical information from any doctor or hospital anywhere in the world, proceeded to file patents to protect our intellectual property, and today we sit with patents and proprietary technology and customers throughout the United States with 10 U.S. patents and intellectual property and partnerships in 13 additional countries around the world. So it's been a very, very successful, long journey.
But very successful. All right, now, without further ado, I wanted MMRF as your stock symbol, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Tell me about MMRGlobal's core business under Obamacare.
You know, when President Obama was in the Senate, nobody had any idea that Obamacare was going to come along and revolutionize healthcare in a way that would be friendly to the health information technology business and create market cap increases in that segment of the market that is almost analogous to the dot-com boom. One of the things that has happened as a result of Obama's actions is that there are requirements that patients that go to physicians, percentages of patients, have access to all their medical information online pretty much in real time. And as a result of that, many of these systems, health systems, doctors, hospitals, providers that are seeing patients and dispensing information are using systems that could potentially be implicated by the company's intellectual property. So as a result of actions under the Affordable Care Act, what has happened is the value of our IP and our products and services has grown significantly, exponentially. And as of the first of this year, when it became mandated that physicians have to offer personal health records to a number of their patients, a percentage number of patients, which grows to as much as 50% over the next year, all of a sudden the awareness of a personal health record and MMR in particular and our intellectual property grew. And as a result of that, we've had successes with prosecuting our patent portfolio, and even as we announced today, successes with licensing our patent portfolio or entering into agreements with our patent portfolio with companies that were never even in a defensive posture with us, just wanted to do business with us because I would like to think they saw it was the right thing to do.
Wow. I see nothing but growth here. Okay, let me switch gears just for a little bit, and you have plenty of room on the backside of this question. Now, the revolution in global healthcare and how it impacts MMR. There's a lot of room to talk on this one.
Okay. One of the challenges that we faced when we first went into business is kind of like the same challenge that Amazon faced when they went into online shopping, Intuit faced when they went into online banking. Consumer public wasn't necessarily ready. What has happened over the past 6 months, and some people in the health information technology business would call this good news. A lot of people in the Obama administration would call it bad news. But hundreds of millions of dollars were spent on healthcare.gov. And all of a sudden, that created an awareness amongst the consumer that not only I had to get my healthcare online, but maybe I could manage my healthcare online because of the new bells, whistles, and systems. And that phenomenon, and that hundreds of millions of dollars worth of spending, is really the impetus that ignites the sale of our products and services as we move forward into 2014.
Talk to me about the evolution, what you see there as things move forward. Drill down into that for me.
I see consumers being aware that it's to their advantage to truly understand the cost of their care. But understanding the cost of the care is not only understanding the cost of their plan and understanding where they're going to get care. It's understanding how much money they're paying for all the individual items on the shopping list. So when you walk into a physician's office for a physical, they're going to take a whole bunch of blood tests. Many of those tests you don't need to take every year, or you don't need to take every 2 years, or you don't need to take every 6 months. And the empowered patient, the patient who sits in control of their medical information by having a fully functional personal health record that connects to all their doctors and all their hospitals, of which we're probably one of the only ones, if not the only true one out there in the universe, needs that information in order to manage those costs. So having a personal health record, or employing the intellectual property, the IP, the technology that MMR is driving into the industry, is truly benefiting everybody regardless of how they manage their health care, because it enables them to manage not only the information about their health care, but the cost implications of their health care.
Yes, greater transparency is definitely where we need it. I mean, I'm too familiar with all the cloak and dagger, part of like, well, you don't need to know that. You're not smart enough to figure that out. And you are actually empowering people to be able to take charge of their own life in a far more user-friendly basis than what's happened before. Great work.
Which is why we see so much growth in this company. Because not only do we have a bunch of intellectual property, which has been the subject of lawsuits brought against Walgreens, WebMD, Quest Diagnostics, and a variety of other companies, major companies that we believe have infringed or continue to fringe in our patents. But there is now an awareness on the consumer side as a result of what's been happening that, wait a minute, separate and apart from our intellectual property, having personal health records puts them and keeps them into more control. So MMR as an investment opportunity is kind of a unique company. We have a consumerized product that everybody who goes to a doctor or a hospital in the United States and in at least 12 other countries around the world has a need to buy, either through their employer or directly. And we also have an intellectual property platform that everybody else who offers the services that connects patients to their doctors ultimately, we believe, can benefit from, either through a business relationship, a strategic partnership, or a licensing relationship.
Bob, let me interrupt you for just a second. We need to take a commercial break here, but I want to get into that on the very next segment, okay?
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with Bob Lorsch, MMRGlobal, symbol MMRF. And we're going to walk through a lot of more content on this company when we come back. And special thanks to Monk Media and 1-800 Public Relations for all their PR and media support. We'll be right back. It's going to be riveting on the other one. We've got some special stuff for you. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Traders Network. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Thanks for joining us. We're also streaming to you live on yorbamedia.com and broadcasting to you from the Dallas KFXR 1190 AM Clear Channel studios. All right, I'm joined on the show with Bob Lorsch, CEO, MMRGlobal. Symbol is MMRF. You're going to want to know this name. All right, Bob, when we were left off in the last segment, we were talking, just starting to get into your intellectual property. Could you open up the strategy for us on this segment?
Sure. As I said earlier in the interview, when the company was founded, we began in 2005 to file a series of patents directed towards the use of various health information technologies and personal health records. Mm-hmm. And in my past life in the telecommunications business, I had founded a company that was in the prepaid calling card business, and ultimately it was sold to AT&T in a matter of 3 or 4 years for over $400 million with nothing more than a $5,000 initial investment based on intellectual property. At that point, it was the intellectual property which everybody uses today to swipe and activate a prepaid card. This intellectual property is focused on how to get medical records from your doctor, from your hospital to the patient. And considering that every patient is required to have access to their medical records, we have a patent portfolio that theoretically, ultimately, we believe will become a mainstream foundational patent that underscores the way that patients get medical records from their doctors or hospitals.
Bob, that's trillions of dollars. That's not billions. That's a lot of money, Bob.
Well, the people that have done some valuation analysis on the value of these patents would say that it's in the billions of dollars. So I'm not going to exaggerate with trillions. I like the B.
Okay.
But at this particular point, I think what's most important is this is probably one of the most undervalued companies based on the opportunity and the intellectual property and what we represent to the healthcare profession of any company that's trading on the exchanges today.
Oh, Bob, this is okay. Well, you could say B and I'll say T, but this is very big. That is a huge statement you just made.
I will not argue with the term very big.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Okay. Unless there's anything else on that subject you want to bring out, because I've got another question for you.
Yeah, there is, actually, and I think it's relevant.
Okay.
So as these patents were issued in 2011, 2012, we maintained a law firm that would work with the company as really a strategic partner to the company, and as happens in many of these patent cases. And we began to bring lawsuits against what we considered to be people that were infringing on the intellectual property who were major players, so that we could kind of set a basis for what we thought these patents were worth. And, in terms of pharma and big box pharmacy, the first one was Walgreens. And then we also have been litigating with WebMD, Quest Diagnostics in the lab space, Allscripts in the EMR space, and another company which is a division of Allscripts by the name of Jar Dogs. We're really excited about the fact that prior to even the early hearing phases of our cases, we've actually reached a settlement and licensing agreement with Walgreens, which people can go to the company's investor relations page and read about. And also, without litigation, we've actually reached a patent agreement with Cerner Corporation, which is clearly the number 1, 2, or 3, depending on what day you look at it, largest electronic medical record providers in the world, and we have not had to sue them. This was a relationship where two companies got together, and I'd like to think they looked at the patent portfolio, they realized there was something there, and they entered into an agreement to avoid patent litigation, which, as many, many people know, can cost companies many, many millions of dollars to prosecute and defend and create a win-win relationship. So we see that as a sign that we're truly on the right track. And when you combine those wins with one $80 billion company, one $20 billion company, from the perspective of a company our size, with the fact that the administration has spent hundreds of millions of dollars educating consumers on the value of our product, which we make. We are not a patent troll. We are a practicing entity. I think the future for MMR is extraordinarily bright and just a tremendous opportunity that should not be missed.
I wholeheartedly agree. Let me back up just a little bit on your portfolio. How many patents currently are we talking about, healthcare patents are we currently talking about with these groups that you just mentioned?
We have 10 issued U.S. patents. We have 18 or 19 pending and or continuing applications. We have dozens of other patents issued, pending, or applied for in 12 additional countries around the world. We are actively pursuing the IP in many of those countries, including Japan, Australia, Singapore, New Zealand, and obviously throughout the United States. And a number of the people that we're working with in the United States have business relationships in other parts of the world that we believe will ultimately leverage settlements or working relationships in those other parts of the world. I'd also like to say that, we surprised our shareholders this week with an announcement with Cerner. And we did not litigate with them. There was no pre-press about it. People did not know what we were doing with Cerner, and it's not going to be the last one. There are a lot of companies that, as a result of our success and the continued issuance of our patents, that we are working with on a good faith basis to create relationships to licensing or share our IP, our products, our services in order to generate revenue for our shareholders. So there's a lot of exciting things coming that I wish I could talk about, but when people say, well, what does this mean? What exactly is happening? I kind of go to the Macy's Gimbals analogy. I want to consistently make better and better deals for our shareholders. And by going out and talking about the deal that I made at Macy's as a soft goods manufacturer, I'm not going to get the same deal over at Gimbals if Gimbals knows what the competition is paying.
That's why you have to keep things confidential.
Right. And in the patent world, especially when you have a patent that has the potential of implicating hospitals, healthcare providers, electronic medical records companies, government agencies, from one extreme to another, and we are looking to work with these organizations, not to litigate with these organizations. The objective here has always been to work with them, much like we surprised our shareholder base with a relationship with Cerner. When you have that kind of an opportunity, it's just very exciting.
It is. Very exciting. It is. We've got about 2 minutes left in the segment here, maybe about a minute and a half. Any other takeaway messages you want the audience to hear for 2014 and forward about your company, about MMRGlobal?
I think what's relevant is, again, going back to our intellectual property, the patents that are being issued to us in the United States and other parts of the world are the same patents that are relevant to the various different people that we're either talking with, negotiating with, working with, or in some cases litigating with. So we have a very, very robust portfolio that is extremely malleable and has implications for a tremendous broad spectrum of the healthcare industry. And also, I think, as a result of awareness of what's going on through Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, and people understanding how they may have had a relationship with their doctor for the past 15 years and they know that person. They're connected to the person, the office, the staff. In today's world, you're not connected. You basically may be connected to your healthcare provider through a computer, through an internet connection. That it's really important to have something in your hand that demonstrates that you're in control of your personal health information, so you're not paying for prescriptions you don't need, tests you don't need, and services you don't need.
Bob,
and MMR is positioned to provide all of that and benefit from the movement that is required under Affordable Care Act.
We got to go, but thank you, and I want you to come back.
Thank you so much, Michael. Really a pleasure.
Mine
Always
too.
A pleasure.
Bob Lorsch, MMRGlobal, MMRF, and special thanks to Monk Media and 1-800 Public Relations for all their PR and media support.